Vikings delivered an epic battle, great character growth, and a satisfying ending. We feel like all the plot lines are tied up, the conflicts are solved, and the story is just all round in a happier place. And then in the last 5 minutes, they throw us a giant curveball, smack us with a huge mystery, we're completely confused, and set up Season 6 to throw us into a giant deep pit of depression. So first off, I want to talk about Freitas, and how she was developed more in this single episode than all of her other scenes combined. In just this episode, she flipped from a 2D character that was really weird and hard to understand, her motivations were purely around Ivar, to this very 3D character that has values, boundaries, lines that she draws in the sand, and Ivar crossed one of them. We saw in the previous episode her giving some really hard looks and holding something back. There was something in her eye that said rebellion. Though her entire being has been invested into Ivar, so I didn't think she would throw it all away. I thought there would be some kind of conflict and change in the relationship they have, but they would still be a part of Ivar's storyline for all of Season 6. I imagined a story where Freitas betrayed Ivar, led in Bjorn and put them both on the run. She leaves with him and stays at his side as he goes from poverty and nothing back to building up an army with the Rus Vikings. Ivar would be alone with no money, no power, and he has many needs as someone who is disabled that Freitas would have to do to look after him. This would fundamentally change the relationship and power dynamic between them and level it out. As Ivar has these ambitions and he's the son of Ragnar and he's always seen as like this top dog person in the relationship, she would be the one doing all the tasks they need just to bare minimum survive as they travel away and try to get to Russia. Ivar would be angry and bitter from this betrayal, and she would still hold their resentment for him killing their son, but they would have to work over those boundaries together to form a real relationship built off true respect both ways. It would have worked so great to build out both their characters, but instead, we had Ivar do the most shallow and predictable thing ever, just strangle her. At least there was a little bit of an irony to it, because she did strangle that manservant that was a real father to Ivar's child, so her dying this way is quite full circle. Definitely some creative comrade work there. Now going into this battle, both Ivar and Bjorn know that it's a battle between the two of them, not between the armies. Bjorn isn't fighting the people of Kattegat, he's trying to free them. Ivar doesn't have to defeat the other army, he just has to hold Kattegat and his position of power. But of course, with both of them being Vikings, their first thought to taking out each other is to do it the violent way. I was really happy that in this battle we finally got to see Ivar's creative, clever mind actually put to the test rather than just us being told how amazing he is. His defenses were well built up, he had scouts making routes to make sure other attacks didn't happen while the main force was confronting him, he sent troops to divert off to other fights as soon as he realized he didn't need them here, he knew exactly how Bjorn was going to take this gate with a basic ram, big shelter, and the way he could combat that was with this big fan fire thing. Not only does it work to try and burn people through when they have this cover, but also it shows this very dangerous and powerful image to the people trying to invade. It almost looks like dragon breath firing down on anyone who dares come into the pit of this new god. And then, of course, he has a secondary metal gate, in which he can use to isolate Bjorn and a small section of his force that he can take easy. Ivar knows if he can get to Bjorn and kill him off, the head of the snake, then the rest will fall away. The army has already been mowed down with arrows, burnt alive at the gate, and now they're facing another stronger middle one and they still can't even get in. If Ivar could top that off by holding up Bjorn's decapitated head, then all force against him would stop immediately. Now of course, Bjorn being Ironside, all the arrows miss him, he survives even getting caught in like that, just brutes his way through, jumps off a wall, and he's out of there. It's at this point that Bjorn realizes he can't win this the violent brute way. He needs to show the people of Kattegat that Ivar is not the king they want. This is where we get the single best part of the episode. That speech from Bjorn was so powerful, it really hit home with me. The way that he had this broken, stretched voice from yelling in the battle and all the hardship he's faced and the people around him dying, topped off with the beautiful performance from the actor, everything just worked for me. I also really enjoyed how Ivar kind of laughs off his original comments like, "Ha, what are you even talking about, you defeated loser?" And he turns around and just sees all of these gaunt faces. Everyone's sincerely taking his words and contemplating why they are killing their friends, family, and brothers. Straight away, this battle is framed to us and the characters as this giant tragedy of tyranny almost. It's not some epic showdown between Bjorn and Ivar or some victory for either side. It's just a sad reality that these people aren't in the best place and they have to be helped. So again in this battle, we get to see Harald at his strongest. This struggle he's had with Bjorn has really left him conflicted. He likes Bjorn and he knows it. His ambition of being king of all Norway clearly puts Bjorn in his way, but all of his instinct is kind of countering out that drive and ambition. Letting Bjorn into this raid and betraying Ivar just don't make sense for his plan. Saving him on the battlefield doesn't make sense. It's all irrational, and that's what really gives him depth. Bjorn reminds him so much of his brother and the bond he had, and he lost his brother because he couldn't put aside his ambition. And from this episode, I think that he's beginning to learn that that's not something he wants to do again. We'll get to see Harald's true spirit come out, as he struggles with this love he has, this camaraderie he's forming, and his arbitrary purpose he's put on his life of becoming king of all Norway. It's great to see Vikings keeping him really dynamic and kind of endearing at this point. Harald quickly became one of my favourite characters this season, and this episode has only reinforced that. Now, of course, I want to talk about this injury he got at the end of the episode, and what that could mean for Season 6. I wouldn't be very happy if they used this to kind of kill him off in the beginning of Season 6, because I like him so much now, but I could definitely see this becoming a permanent injury that he has to deal with for all of Season 6. This gives another compounding reason for him not to challenge Bjorn directly now, as he's kind of struggling with his own personal health issues, as well as his emotional issues around whether he wants to take on Bjorn or not. But if you guys have any specific thoughts about where you see Harald going in Season 6, I would love to hear that, because I really am interested in his character. So this episode was fantastic. We did have a few missing elements like Floki, what happened to him. We're not getting any movement on that. As I expected, there was nothing with Alfred or the English storyline, apart from Bjorn shortly kind of coming across to go meet his brothers after the battle was already resolved. But we did get a pretty interesting exchange when Uber did walk up and kind of greeted Bjorn really friendly, and he looked over to Vixen and gave him this really icy look. Definitely still holds a grudge. I talked a little bit about what that could mean for Season 6 in my breakdown of the trailer for that, so you can watch that here. And of course we had Lagertha come in with a sword, everything's lifting up, they just won, Ivar's on the run, everyone's together, it's so awesome. And then of course, Vikings cruise with all of our minds. Bjorn zooms into this vision where he's surrounded with dead bodies, not a scratch on him, his sword covered in blood. They hit us with a Ragnar flashback. We have this parallel between Bjorn sitting on the cliffs with that white cloak and sword, similar to what we saw with Ragnar when he did the same thing. And then we get the Seer talking to Bjorn. Vikings sets up the stage for a darker and more intense Season 6. The war is not over and the pain ahead is vast. Our favourite characters will face bigger challenges, more struggles and heartbreak than ever before. And I cannot wait. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire Viking season. I'm looking to try and keep the conversation going for Vikings even in the off-season by posting some videos more regularly outside of the season. And also hopefully talking to a lot of you guys in my community Discord, link in description, so I can bounce ideas off you guys and pick your brain for all your historical knowledge. Other than that, I'm always looking for great conversation in the comment section, so just tell me your thoughts there. Thanks so much, and skål.